Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you for responding. So much rich information and definitely gave me some new insight as you were reflecting on what I wrote. One of the things that you mentioned is yes, who talks about the need for a common goal? And really, what we're all speaking about and reflecting on is how do we decide that common goal? How do we figure out where the priority lies? And how to address those priorities in a way that will be systematic and supportive of the individuals who are in need. You mentioned that you were curious, kind of my thoughts about the people who are doing the work not having a seat at the table. I do believe that in many aspects that is absolutely accurate. In the article that I mentioned in my post, it was a study of both Australia and Canada. And in their conversations and reflections and interviews with not only individuals who themselves are struggling with mental illness or caring for someone, but also workers, that was one of the pieces that they also identified as well. Part of what made people feel like they didn't want to even attempt to be open and honest about what they were experiencing was the belief that even if I do, nothing will come of it. I won't be heard or I won't be listened to or what I think won't be valued. From personal experience or just even observation, I do think that that's something that is often a struggle. I don't know that it's always an intentional struggle, but I think it can be. As people kind of rise up to different positions, when you kind of bridge and get to that place of an elite hierarchy, so to speak, researchers or lobbyists are coming in with one specific task. And the more finite or singular that task becomes, it's not always going to be as wide stretching. And so I absolutely feel like in those situations, it's easy to lose sight of everything that you want to keep in mind. I also believe that sometimes, just as individuals and as people, we're not always comfortable with having diverse thoughts at the table. Some people can view that opposing thoughts as confrontational or feel like, oh, this is going to get in the way of us being able to move forward. And so I think by accident, maybe sometimes, things can become too homogenous and that things get lost in translation. So again, that's just a belief from watching, observing the limited experiences that I've had, and then some of the literature that I've read, or even just some of the work that I've done, even here in the local community, and talking to people who are on the ground and often feel like their voice is not fully represented. And then the other piece that I did want to point out that you mentioned is access to data. Absolutely. So much we hear as well that there's such a long amount of time between when data is collected, when it is analyzed, when it becomes accessible, and then the process of lobbying can be very long. And so that also hits to one of the key points that I was also looking to explore is the amount of time that lapse between collecting data and then getting to policy could be dozens of years. And at that moment, is that data even what we need? Have things changed? And that has to be one of the most challenging parts about the process of getting policies in place and all of the red tape is it can be a slow process and that people are really left behind. But I appreciate you pointing that out because I do think that that is something that is so helpful is you do need somebody that has current access so that as much as we possibly can, we are paying attention to all of the right pieces. Thank you again. Wonderful, wonderful thoughts.